Welcome back to the Charlie Cook Cricket Podcast. Now, we have a big series. Is it as big as the Ashes? Probably not. But it is still a really big series. It's probably the second biggest series that we have in England. India are over, missing a few superstars. England have got, I want to say, a brand new bowling lineup. This is the first time we've started the summer without either Anderson or Broad. A bit of a push. Anderson played for 30 minutes while we demolished the West Indies at Lords at the start of the summer, but he was still around. Who knows? He might get a call up to the T20 team after his incredible start to the Blast that he's had. I'm joined by Joe today. We're going to go through the series, a few predictions, who we're looking out for, what we think is going to happen. Joe, starting off, do we reckon India have a chance? It's 2007 since they last won a series in England. England have been incredibly hard to beat at home. I think they've lost 3 series at home since 2001. There's been a few draws in there, but you're looking at Sri Lanka, South Africa series, and obviously that India 2007 series is the only series that England have lost at home in the last 24 years. So surely India, without the superstars, don't have a chance this year.
I think they do, because I still think you can never discount India. They're so strong. Obviously, cricket isn't played on paper, but they're so strong on paper, and they have still got a good look. Like, I know they don't have the superstardom that Virat, kind of carries with him, but they still have a lot of superstars. I mean, you look at some of these players: Jaiswal, Gill, KL Rahul, obviously Bumrah, Jadeja, like these kind of players. Even Arshdeep, I know obviously he's not played Test cricket, but he is a superstar in India. Kuldeep Yadav, these kind of players are just sensational cricketers. So I do think they have a really good shot at winning the series. I think England will win, but I think India will be kind of. I feel like people are just assuming without Virat and Rohit, they're just going to be, and Shami as well. It's worth noting they're just going to be easily beatable, but I don't think that'll be the case at all. I think it's still going to be a very tough series for England.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think England's biggest issue is going to be the bowling attack. It just doesn't quite seem to be where I'd want it to be. There was some real kind of bright lights. I thought that we would kind of find Gus Atkinson was this great new find, although he'd obviously been around in county cricket for a bit. You had Bryden Cast, which was the find of the winter. Josh Tongue was coming back from injury. Sam Cook was coming into the side. Wokes was a bit hit and miss last year, but I thought his role was a lot better than what it has been at the past, because he was getting that opportunity with a new ball without Anderson and Broad in the side. And it was just all looking up. And now all of a sudden we kind of are here at this really important 10 test kind of period that we have in 6 or 7 months, and that bowling attack isn't quite where you want it, is it? I mean, if you were going to pick who's your fast bowl, who's going to be your attack for the first test, you're probably going Wokes, Tongue, Cast, Bashir.
Yeah, although I actually wouldn't play Bashir based on Headingley. Headingley's history with spin isn't necessarily the best. They will play Bashir, but wouldn't pick Bashir based on his form. But any of that debate, I purely based.
I would, because he's shit. I just
have
that out there.
Fair enough. I would go Cook. Oh, I would go all the seamers. They pick Cook. Who else did they pick? They picked Cook, Tong, Wokes, and Cast. Obviously Overton as well, but personally I wouldn't go Overton. At least not in this test. That's who I'd pick, but I assume they will go Bashir. I think they will pick the attack that you said of Cast, Bashir, Wokes, and Tong, and I'm fine with that. Like, I think particularly Cast and Tong are 2 players I'm really excited to see. I think they're going to do great stuff in this series and in Australia as well. And yeah, Jofra will hopefully be back for the second test that they are marking for. I think the one test he'll definitely play if fit is Old Trafford, because, and as someone who's seen obviously a lot of cricket at Old Trafford this season, you need quick bowlers there. You need genuinely quick. The best bowler I've seen at Old Trafford this season is Ajit Singh Dale for Gloucestershire, who is rapid and hits the pitch hard and swings the ball, and completely different style of bowler to Jofra, but in essence, that is what Jofra is. So I think Jofra, I'd be very surprised if he didn't play at Old Trafford. Based on
I mean, that's probably the idea, isn't it? I mean, I know he's playing for Sussex this week, and for him to be fit for the second test, then you'd probably give him a break because it's a back-to-back test.
And then he can come in for the fourth test, which is obviously
and then he can come in for the fourth test, which will give him a couple of weeks break in between. That's got to be the way to do it, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I would do. Like I said, he has to play at Old Trafford. I think England should pick Tong, Cars, Archer at Old Trafford, or some form of that attack, because of, as I say, the need for pace. You've also still got people who can move the ball, and all that. You're not just got pure pace. People can still swing the ball. Archer swings the ball. Obviously, more recently swings the ball in a lot. Tong does a bit off the seam as well. Likewise, Cars. So you still got kind of that element to it. So I think that's the ideal makeup for the Old Trafford attack. But yeah, for Headingley, I would go with Cars, Wokes, and Tong, and obviously Bashir as well. I think will probably play, despite the fact that I probably wouldn't, because typically Headingley isn't great for spinners. And it wouldn't surprise me if India didn't play a spinner other than Jadeja, who was in a probably number 6 maybe, or number 7. So I don't think they'll play a frontline spinner, excluding Jadeja, who I would say is an all-rounder. So therefore, not a frontline spinner like Bashir. So that's what I'd imagine they'll do.
Yeah, Headingley's usually the liveliest surface that we have in the country at the moment. I mean, they've been relatively flat and relatively dull in recent times. I mean, I'm looking at that 3 tests of Edgbaston, Lords, and then Old Trafford. Of those pitches just haven't been great. Whether we are brave enough to say, let's not pick Bashir and go with an extra seamer. I had the idea of not picking Bashir and going with a Bethel and moving everyone around, and then you can fit Pope and Bethel in the team at the same time. I don't think that works, because then I think you're relying on too many overs from Bethel and then definitely too many overs from Stokes.
Yes, yeah. I also don't think Bethel batting, or Stokes batting 8, Pope batting 6, although I do think Pope's better in the middle order. Like, I just think Stokes batting 8 is ridiculous to me. Like, he's a number 6. I know he's not been in the best form with the bat over the past however many months. He's a match winner at number 6. Leave him at number 6. Don't move him there. Leave him there as long as he's fit. Leave him there in the Ashes. Leave him there in this series for every single test match. He's not going to pick up a cricket ball in between. Well, he might to train, but in a game, I doubt he'll play in between the India series and the Ashes just to keep himself fit. Well, maybe play the odd white ball game. I don't know if his involvement in that stuff will be like, but just keep Stokes at 6. Don't bat him at 8. To me, that's just a complete waste of Ben Stokes. You wouldn't have seen Flintoff or both of them batting at 8, and they are in a similar vein of Stokes, aren't they, in terms of that maverick all-rounder who's a match winner.
I mean, Stokes is probably the better batter out of both of them, and maybe not both of them, but definitely Flintoff. I mean, Stokes is for most of his career, was a genuine number 5.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, I think Stokes, you could argue, is batting 2. I wanted Stokes when England were having issues at number 3. I wanted Stokes when he was potentially looking like he couldn't bowl because of his knee anymore, and much more at all. I wanted Stokes to move up to number 3, because I think he's got the technique and the sound technique to be able to do that. But like I said, keep him at 6. Don't move him from there. That's where he's at his absolute best. And don't mess around too much with that. Have your kind of Cast is a good enough number 8. Absolutely, Cast is a good enough number 8, and especially
it'll be Wokes at 8, Cast at 9.
Oh, I forgot about Wokes. I mean, that's a really good 8 and 9. Obviously got Smith at 7, who's fantastic. On all this talk of dropping Smith to fit Bethel in, move Stokes to 7, Pope keeps. Like, Pope's a good keeper. I didn't think he did badly in New Zealand, and he is a keeper. But realistically, he's not a keeper in terms of he's not the ideal pick. I'd rather Smith kept. I'm not saying drop Pope. I don't necessarily think that's the way, but I, I just think people are trying to fit square pegs in round holes, and it's not working. We have a really good Test match wicketkeeper in Jamie Smith, who's kept well and batted really well at number 7. Keep him there. We have a really good all rounder in Stokes, who's a fantastic kind of probably too good to bat at number 6, and is a really good bowler. And obviously, our captain, leave him there. And then Brooks going to stay at 5. Root's obviously going to stay at 4. Duckett's going to stay at the top of the order. So then that obviously leaves Crawley and Pope. And I don't think that I think they'll both play Headingley. I don't think Bethel will play because I don't think England should drop Crawley or Pope because it's just off the back of Test sons, and also they've been in good form. Like it's such a myth that Crawley, all right, he's not been in incredible form to the point where he's been scoring 1,000 runs in the county championship, but he's not like he's got like 4 or 5 50s and he's been in great form in the Blast. So
he looks really good in the Blast.
Keep him in there. Like he seems in a really good nick, but people are just so desperate to get Bethel there, which I get because he's sensational, and also to fault Crawley for why. He's a good player. He's a really good player, and obviously he's got his flaws. Everyone's no secrets, but keep him in there. He deserves to play. He's been really good under McCullum. He has. That's a fact. And if Crawley goes on a horrible run of form, then fair enough. I would also say maybe it's time to move on. But right now, I don't think dropping him is the answer. And throwing Bethel into the fire at the top of the order as an opening batter, he is not an opening batter. So people saying drop Crawley for Bethel, it's again just desperation to get Bethel in, which I see why because he's incredible. But he's not an opening batter. There are so many better openers in the country than Jacob Bethel. That's a fact as well. So to me, again, people are desperate for change and trying to fit square pegs in round holes. And to me, unless Pope and Crawley have terrible starts in the first 2 tests, because I wouldn't give them more than 1 test, they would have to get, they have to be horribly out of form in those first 2 tests for me to think definitely 100% drop them. I do want Bethel in the team. I'm desperate to see him play Test cricket, but it's not easy to fit him in. And sometimes you just got to wait for your chance. The guy's 21 and is, as I say, an incredible talent. I absolutely love Jacob Bethel, and I love watching him bat, and I love watching him field as well.
I think if it's Crawley's form, so I think they've both got 2 Test matches. I think you've got Pope can have 2, Crawley will have 2, and if they all 4 failures in those innings, then I think you've got to start looking elsewhere.
100%. I'm not saying keep them in there forever, but I just think people dropping them now or saying drop them now, I don't get that, and I'm not on board with that at all.
No, and I think that you've got to go you've got to pick the position. So if Crawley's out of form, you don't just think, okay, let's shove Bethel to open. I don't think that's work. Now, if they want to get creative and say Pope gets the glove, Smith up to open, because I do think that Smith opening in white ball cricket is maybe a little think of, okay, if Crawley doesn't work out for the next few tests, can we get Jamie Smith to that opening spot and give him a bit of experience in international cricket doing it? I think that is a genuine idea that they've got. So, which is fine if you want to do it that way. If it was me, I pick Tom Haynes. Tom Haynes comes into my side if
without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah,
I think his ton that he scored for the Lions, the other runs that he scored for the Lions, and the runs that he scored for Sussex this year, I'd have him in the squad. And then if Pope has a really
the 3 for me, or the 2 for me, clear cut, Tom Haynes, Emilio Gay. Either of those 2, I wouldn't complain, because for me they're the next best openers aside from Jennings, Hamid, Lees, who realistically they're not going to pick rightly or wrongly.
No,
I do think
Lees would be interesting, but probably hasn't had the starts of the season.
But he has shown flashes of form.
He had a really good year. Was it last year that he had a really good year?
Yeah. I think he just got over 1,000 runs.
And again, showed that he was just a bit more aggressive. Strike rate of around, what was it, 70, something like that.
Yeah,
that he was scoring his runs at.
Good enough, certainly good enough for the England team. And that's the thing with Haynes, is that he doesn't score that way. That's why I think there'll be reservations, and that's what frustrates me about this England team, is they're so set on the way that they want to play, which is fine. Completely get that, having an identity and a style of play. But I feel like at times there's got to be an exception. And you still got Duckett up there, who's still going to try and score and run a ball. And for me, Duckett's probably the best all format opening batter in the world. I might be missing someone off the top of my head. I can't think of anyone. You could argue he's the best all format batter because he's probably one of the only players who plays all three formats. He's definitely in that conversation for me. Travis Head's also in there, these kind of players, but Duckett's in there. So you still got who's going to go at 100 miles an hour, which is absolutely fine. Don't change the way he plays. Put Haynes in there as well. He complements him so nicely. Good foil for him. But for that, don't change it. Keep Crawley at the top of the order. Keep Pope at number 3 because they just got test hundreds. So if they drop them, I don't care if it was against Zimbabwe or against Australia or against India or whoever. A test 100 is a test 100. And also, I don't think Zimbabwe are not a bad team. I know they didn't bowl very well on that first day, but they're not a bad team still. So if they drop them off the back of a test 100, for me, that's completely ridiculous.
And also, Crawley was our best bat in India.
100%, yeah. Like that's the other thing is Crawley has played well against India before. He's also played well in Australia before. And England clearly are kind of thinking to that. We know that for years. They're thinking towards the Ashes. Crawley's an investment for the future. And Zach Crawley runs, when he scores them, they look so good. They're so nice to watch. Those big booming cover drives or those big drives through mid-off, mid-on, or those clips off his pads, they're so good to watch, aren't they? Like, when Crawley gets going, which again is way more often than people for some reason seem to think, he's a really, really good player. He's really good to watch.
Average 76 against Bumrah in that 2024 series.
That's the thing. Like he's someone who has experience and success against Bumrah, and is something that every batter struggles with facing Bumrah, bar none. Literally bar none. Maybe bar Root, but even then, I think Root probably would struggle because Bumrah's the best bowler in the world, or struggle to an extent as much as Joe Root can. So to me, keep Crawley, keep hoping. If they drop them, it's ridiculous because they've just scored test hundreds each, and I think that would kind of rip up everything England have done well under Baz and Stokes over the past however many years back in place. Look at Bashir. Bashir is someone who I think maybe there are better options than him right now, but they've kept the faith in him. So do the same to Pope and Crawley. That I'd be very, very, very surprised if they're not in the team. And we'll probably know the team. I'm surprised we've not already named it, to be honest. But they named the squad like 3 weeks early. But I am surprised they've not named the team already. But I think we'll probably know.
We are recording this 2 days early, so by the time this comes out Wednesday evening, they very might have named the team.
Well, I mean, as I say, like it's Monday, and I genuinely am surprised they've not named it because they for some reason name it so early.
I mean, it's gonna be Crawley, Duckett, Pope, Root, Brook, Stokes, Smith, Wokes, Cast, Tongue, Bashir. That's gonna be the team.
I agree. The only people that could get, or the only person that I think could get into that team is Overton instead of Cast, and that's if that depends on Cast's fitness after the white ball series. That's for me. That's the only possible change I'll make. I would love Sam Cook to play. Realistically, he's not going to because he's not going to get in there instead of Wokes. Because I mean, fair enough, Wokes is the leader of the attack. This might be Wokes' last summer for all we know.
Wokes bowled really well in the Lions game.
And Wokes played well. I have no qualms with Wokes playing. I think at times he struggled last summer, but I think you need that experience. And as I said, I'd love Sam Cook to play. I think he will play in this series at some point, but I don't think it'll be this test match. He might play at Lords because he's played at Lords a lot, but then again, Wokes is also a fantastic record at Lords. Can you play them both? Who knows? That's another debate. But yeah, like I'd be very surprised if that wasn't the team. Like I say, Overton for Cast, the only change I could see based on Cast's fitness after coming off the back of that white ball series. But that was, 2 weeks ago now, a week ago. He's had plenty of time to kind of rest. And obviously, they wouldn't have named him if they thought he wouldn't be fully fit. So yeah, I agree that with the team.
And then you're probably looking at maybe Jofra in for Tongue, or Jofra in for Cast, depending on fitness.
I think
who's pulling
probably.
Up and...
Yeah, I think probably Jofra in for Tongue. I actually could see Cook playing. But mind you, is it the second test? Is it Edgbaston, right?
Yeah.
So I think Cook's most likely to play at Lords, if anywhere. I don't think Lords suits him best. Like if you've kind of got Tongue, Wokes, and Cook at Lords, I think that's still a good enough attack for Lords because Wokes is sensational at Lords and always has been. He's done well against India at Lords as well. That's India's he scored his 100 against the Lords, right? I think so. Obviously, has done well at Lords with bat and ball against India. Like Cook's played there lots. For Essex, countless times in white ball cricket as well. But still, the principles are the same. Tong, I expect will play at Lords as well. So that's a good enough attack for Lords, and let's see what happens. But it's going to be a very, very exciting series.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. In terms of India, I'm trying to think who's going to be their lineup. Jaiswal, KL Rahul, opening pair most likely. Three.
Sudharsan 3.
Sudharsan.
I'd be very surprised if he didn't play. For me, it's natural that he plays. I'd be very, very surprised if he didn't.
Surrey, Sai, Sudharsan, of course. Can't avoid Surrey being in international teams in England. It just happens all the time. And then Gill 4, 5, Karen Nair.
If they don't pick Karen Nair, I'd be very surprised. He's in good form, and then it's just got that massive double ton for India A. So I assume Karen Nair will bat 5, Pant 6, Jadeja 7. But like I said, I think they'll go with the 4-prong seam attack. So in no particular order, it would be Shardul, because obviously he's another all-rounder. He just got 100 as well. I read on Twitter in the behind closed doors game. They're almost certainly going to play. So Shardul, Bumrah, Siraj, and I would love Arshdeep Singh to play. For me, if he's fit, he should play every test match because he's a point of difference in this attack. Also swings the ball and has played county cricket, obviously for Kent. So kind of knows conditions. So I would love Arshdeep to play. The only other person who maybe could play is Krishna. Obviously had a good IPL. He could play as well in that kind of 4-prong seam attack. But I think that's what they'll go with for this test match.
They played Harshit Rana in a couple of tests in Australia as well, didn't they?
Yeah, and also Nitish Kumar Reddy as well.
I just don't see how. I think putting this, the way that you'd get Nitish Kumar Reddy in is probably by batting him instead of Karen Nair, isn't it?
I agree. I think Nitish he was batting like 8 in Australia, right? Or was like 7 or 8, and that's way too low. Like he's that 100 that he got. What was that? Like, was that the MCG? That 100, or was that the Gabba? I can't remember.
I can't remember now.
He got a really good 100 anyway, and I think that kind of showed that he's way too good to be batting 7 or 8, wherever it was. He should be batting 5.
It was the one that was a draw, wasn't it?
Yes.
Which was the third test.
I think that was the Gabba. I want to say the Gabba.
It was the Gabba, yeah, because the pink ball test was at Adelaide, then it was the Gabba, and it was MCG, then Sydney.
It was a great innings. So I think you're right. He would bat in the middle order. But yeah, and then it's going to be an interesting series. I think the other person who I'm interested to see his role is Kuldeep. Now, that's someone I think will play at Old Trafford. Old Trafford's not spun as much at all this year, but it wouldn't surprise me if they made the Test match wicket a little bit more spin conducive to obviously kind of favour. Well, it will also favour India, but bring Bashir into the game a little bit more because Old Trafford's massive in terms of dimensions of the ground. But hitting boundaries, potentially attacking the spinner could work in England's favour and also against England as well. I think they might prepare that a little bit more conducive to spin later on in the game. So I think Kuldeep will play there. And the other person I'd love to see play is Washington Sundar. I love Washington Sundar. I think obviously he's played for Lancs, so maybe I'm naturally biased towards him. But I think after Jadeja, he will be the permanent fixture at number 7. And yeah, I'm a big fan of Washington Sundar, so I'd love him to get a chance.
It does feel like a Jadeja placement, Sundar, doesn't it? Realistically,
yeah, I think that's a natural replacement. He's very obviously different off spinner, left arm off spinner, but both genuinely good batters. I think Sundar's probably too good to bat 7. I think he should probably move up to 6. But then you've also got Pant. Maybe I'm just kind of splitting hairs, but yeah, like I say, India's depth is so good you can't really count them out. And I don't think at any point India will be out of this series, unless obviously England go 3-0 up. But in terms of I don't think there'll be any point of the Test match where one team is dominating the other. I think it's going to be a really close Test match. 2 really good teams, but not the best teams in the world and not at their peak yet because they're not quite at their peak levels. Still kind of finding out what works. But yeah, I'm excited to see Gill as a skipper. Obviously, he's done it in the IPL and Gujarat have been generally pretty successful under him. And yeah, I think it's going to be a really exciting series.
Yeah, I just think there's too many questions around that India lineup. I think Jaiswal looks useless in the Lions games, the India A games. I think he could struggle in England. I think he might work it out later on in the series, but I think for at least the first couple of games, I think he's going to really struggle to get used to these conditions. Gill obviously hasn't scored a run in kind of away from home. Really, what's he averaging? 30 odd away from home now.
Struggled a little
Might
bit in
even be
Australia
less
as
than
well.
that. Said Arson is obviously going to be relatively new to the Test side, although he
But
has
has
played
played
in
in
England.
England. Yeah.
Yeah. Somehow won. Did he win Emerging Player at the IPL? Which it feels like he's been around
I
for
don't know,
years
but
now.
he has been around for years. I think he will be like the next great Indian Test batter. Like kind of after Jaiswal and Gill, because they're already established. I think Sadasan will be like the next great kind of new Indian Test batter to come into the side. I think he's a sensational player. He's probably the one player, him and KL Rahul, who one of my favorite players in the world. Those two are the two I'm so excited to see.
I
in
think
terms of
KL
who to
Rahul's
back.
going to have a really good series. If you were to look in to put a bet on for top run scorer, I'd be all over KL Rahul right now. I don't know what the odds would be, but I think that's a really, really, really good bet.
Yeah, he's so good in England, and I think now he's kind of found such a nice middle ground to his game. He knows he's going to open the batting. Obviously, that's pretty much blatantly clear. The only other person who could open is Iswaran, but I'll be honest, I've not seen too much of him. And I've seen little bits of him in red ball cricket. In when he toured Australia with India A against Australia, he seemed like a good player, but I think he's going to be a really good player, but just a little bit too soon. I think he will be the next opener, kind of post KL.
Yeah. So you've got Pant, who's just had question marks around him since the car crash. Realistically, had a really bad IPL. Had a hit and miss Australia series. I mean, no one really scored runs in that BGT series, but it was a bit hit and miss, a bit reckless. I go back to the Gavaskar stupid comment. Jadeja's getting on a bit, hasn't looked as good as he has recently. Bumrah's world class, but Siraj is going to be your second in that attack, your second best bowler, and that always worries me. Siraj is
I think
always.
I honestly I think if Arshdeep plays, I think he'll actually be the second because I think Arshdeep should open the bowling for me.
I mean, if Arshdeep plays, then it's going to be Arshdeep and Siraj with a new ball, and then Bumrah first change.
Is that what
You'd
you think it'll
imagine.
be? I think Bumrah. I think that'd be stupid not to open with Bumrah. For me, Bumrah has to take the new. Like he's the best bowler in the world. I know Cummins doesn't open, and he's Australia's best bowler for me. But like for me, I think they'd be stupid not to open the bowling with Bumrah. I think it's Bumrah and one other. And I think Siraj actually quite a good first change bowler. He's that kind of wily character who can. He tends to be, nip it off the seam more than he'll swing the ball. I think Siraj, and I think with the kind of slightly older ball, he would be quite good. And obviously, they'll still be swinging off us. It's not going to go dead after 10 overs. So maybe I'm splitting hairs. But I think the tone that Bumrah sets, England could be like 5 for 3 or 5 overs, and Bumrah could have taken all 3 wickets and gone for 2 runs. That's how good he is, and that's not a slight on England's batters. That's just how good Bumrah is. So yeah,
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
fascinated for that.
there's a world where you open with Siraj and Arshdeep, and they're a little bit wayward, and after
Yeah,
the 10, 12 overs, England are 75 for no loss.
yeah.
That's
I
a
just think the
genuine thing that could
tone.
happen.
I just think the tone that Bumrah sets. Again, I just think it'd be stupid not to open with him. I see why. Like I don't necessarily disagree in terms of I think Siraj and Arshdeep would be good new ball bowlers, but I just think when you've got Bumrah there, the tone that you can set early on in an innings with that new ball, and also it can lift the whole. It can lift the whole team. Like if you've got he's hitting pants gloves, beating the outside edge, that's going to lift the whole team. And outswing, outswing, outswing. You know one's coming back in any minute, and you're just waiting. You're just waiting as a batter. Or it might be inswinger, inswinger, inswinger. Where's the outswinger? Finding outside edge goes to KO Rahul at first, like whatever. You're just waiting for that kind of stuff as a batter, and I just think the tone that you can set is so important.
Who will have the gloves? You reckon? Pant's gonna have the gloves.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I don't think KO Rahul will because he'll look open.
Yeah, I guess that makes
I'd be
sense.
surprised. Oh, well, actually, I've actually got the squad list up on the BCCI website, and Pant is listed as the vice captain and wicketkeeper. So I guess so.
Okay, series predictions. What's the score going to be?
I would say 3-2 England. I think every test will have a result. I'd be very surprised if there's a draw, unless weather plays a part.
It's going to be rain, isn't it? If there's going to be a draw, the problem is because there isn't a draw. I don't see India winning 2 tests. Because I think that's a push. But then 4-1 seems far too kind of dominant for 3.
I think it'll be one of them series where, like I said earlier, there'll be no, even if England win 4-1, or even if India win 4-1, hypothetically speaking, there'll be no point where you think, wow, England dominated India. You might get that session by session, but I don't even know if there'll be a day's play like that. I think that's how evenly matched these two teams are. So even if it ends up being 4-1 to England, or 3-2 to India, or whatever it may be, I don't think there'll be one dominant team in the series, like there have been, in past years.
And also, you've only got Bumrah playing what looks like 3 tests at the moment.
I think he'll play the first test.
I think it's 1, 2, and 4 they're looking at the moment.
I was about to say, again, he needs to play Old Trafford because of what I mentioned earlier in terms of it being a fast bowler's haven. So yeah, I think without Bumrah, I think the 3 test India could win at the 3 test Bumrah plays, to be honest. I think England will definitely win at Lords. I think England are so good at Lords, and particularly Wokes. I honestly think that's how good Wokes is at Lords, and Root as well. Root's like Steve Smith. They just turn it on at Lords like nothing you've ever seen. So I think England will win at Lords, and England are always pretty good at the Oval as well. So ironically, I think the 2 tests that England win will both be in London and both without Bumrah. And I think those things definitely combine. And I think India will win 2 others. And then the Old Trafford test, I think, is hard to call. The Old Trafford and the Edgbaston test would be hard to call. But I could see India nicking it ahead of me.
Yeah. I'm gonna go 4-1. I'm gonna go 4-1 England. Kind of down the same. I think they go 2-0 up. And then might be 3-0. India could pull one back. They'll play coolly, but Old Trafford or something could just have England in knots, and then they'll win at the Oval, which would be relatively disappointing because it's always nice to have something on the line going into those last couple of tests.
Absolutely.
But I just think the England batting lineup is going to be too good. There's too many questions. I think Stokes is too good of a captain not to take 20 wickets, even with a relatively kind of inexperienced or poor or whatever you want to call the bowling attack. But that is what I'm going to go. Starts on Friday morning. I'm very, very, very excited for this test series. We'll be doing dailies after every single day of the test. So make sure you are subscribed, following the podcast. If you could leave a like on this one. If you do want to check out Joe, all of his links will be down in the description and in the show notes. And I will see you guys Friday evening for the roundup of day 1 of the first test.